René's drones, marvels of ingenuity, were no longer mere tools of war, but symbols of a revolution in the making. Each new prototype was faster, quieter, and more precise than the last. Yet, as his creations took flight, so too did the shadows that sought to bring him down. The mysterious group opposing his work, les Veilleurs, grew bolder with each passing day. First, there were veiled threats and cryptic warnings. Then came acts of sabotage, equipment tampered with, blueprints stolen, and a calculated attempt to poison René's food. But the ultimate blow came when they struck at his heart, Éloise. It was late evening when René returned to his workshop to find it eerily quiet. A letter awaited him on the workbench. Sealed with the same strange symbol etched into the piece of metal he had salvaged from the fire. He tore it open, his hands trembling. "Monsieur Fournier, your machines are a danger to us all. Destroy them, or we destroy what you hold dear. Éloise Moreau is with us. Act wisely." The letter included no address, only a set of coordinates. René's blood ran cold. The calm, practical Éloise, his steadfast ally, had been ripped from his world. For the first time, his work felt like a curse. Desperate, René sought help from Colonel Marceau, who assured him that the military would handle the situation. But days passed with no progress, and René began to notice discrepancies in the reports he received. One night, while reviewing files in secret, he discovered a trail of coded messages implicating someone within the military as a traitor. It was Lucien Faber, his longtime rival, who had been feeding information to les Veilleurs in exchange for promises of wealth and power after the war. The revelation shattered René's already fragile trust in the people around him. His desperation deepened. He could no longer rely on the military to save Éloise. René knew that Éloise's captors underestimated him. What they saw as mere machines, René saw as extensions of his will. With one of his latest drones, a sleek model equipped with a camera and rudimentary sensors, he began his search. He modified the drone to operate autonomously, programming it to scan the coordinates provided and relay images back to him. The operation was a race against time. Hunched over his controls in the dim light of his workshop, René monitored the drone's feed. The first images showed dense woods and an abandoned chateau nestled in a remote part of the countryside. There, in one of the outbuildings, the drone's camera captured a fleeting glimpse of Éloise, her hands bound but her gaze defiant. René couldn't do this alone. He contacted a trusted few former engineers and resistance sympathizers who had once worked with him, but shared his disdain for the military's misuse of his creations. Together, they devised a plan. Under cover of night, René and his makeshift team approached the chateau. The drone played a pivotal role, disabling security systems with an electromagnetic pulse René had secretly developed. The rescue was swift and brutal. A skirmish broke out, leaving some of the captors dead or incapacitated. René found Éloise in a dank cellar, her wrists raw from the ropes. But the victory was not without costs. During the escape, a stray bullet struck Éloise as she shielded René from an attacker. She collapsed into his arms, her blood staining his coat. René carried Éloise back to Paris, her condition precarious. The military caught wind of the incident, and Colonel Marceau, furious over René's rogue actions, ordered his workshop raided. Soldiers stormed the facility, confiscating equipment and destroying years of work. René barely escaped, clutching a satchel containing his most vital blueprints and Éloise's journal. a collection of her thoughts and sketches that had become his lifeline. As the sun rose over the ravaged streets of Paris, René made the hardest decision of his life to leave the city that had been both his muse and his tormentor. With Éloise unconscious but alive, he boarded a freight train heading south, carrying with him only what he could bear. The train rattled through the countryside, each mile taking him farther from the life he had known. René stared out at the rolling fields, his mind a tempest of guilt, grief, and resolve. He vowed to nurse Éloise back to health, but he also knew his work was far from over. In exile, he would build again, not for war, not for power, but for the future. René's drones had become instruments of destruction, but he still believed in their potential for good. As he held Éloise's journal close, he made a silent promise to create a machine that no one could exploit, a machine that could fly free of human greed and ambition. But the shadows were not finished with René Fournier. The Watchers, the military, and even his own doubts would follow him into the next chapter of his journey. And as the train disappeared into the horizon, so too did the man Paris had once known, leaving behind only a trail of smoke and the faint hum of an unyielding dream.